Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and in this video we'll be talking about the first episode of The Bad Batch. So we're going to be doing a little bit of analysis of some of the small things in the episode and some of the secrets and the Easter eggs in the episode. So the first thing that is quite significant that we see in the first episode is the Jedi Padawan that is featured, who is Kanan Jarrus, also known as Caleb Doom. So if you didn't know, Caleb Doom was a Jedi featured in the Rebels show, who is one of the main characters, and he always talked about the Clone Wars and a lot about how his master died, and now we get to see him as a Padawan as Order 66 happens, so you really get to see how his master dies and how Caleb Doom survives Order 66. I also wanted to quickly touch on Caleb Doom's master, Depa Billaba, who we see die in the first episode. And this is not her first appearance. She's been seen multiple times, most notably Episode 1 and Episode 2. But she's also been seen in Star Wars, the Clone Wars, the animated show, and in various books and comics. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was the Dead Jedi. So as the Bad Batch was coming back to Kamino and they got off their ship, they noticed a fallen Jedi under a cloth. It appeared to be a female Jedi. And as they walk by, there are Coruscant Guard clones escorting this dead Jedi. And as the Bad Batch walks by, her lightsaber falls out of her hand. And at the moment, this Jedi is unknown. We are not very sure who it is. So many people are trying to make predictions on who this Jedi could be, so I thought I might as well make a prediction as well. So I believe that Rig Nema is the Jedi that is under the cloth. Rig Nema was a Jedi during the Republic. She was also kind of a Jedi doctor of sorts, if you want to say that. She helped Yoda in one of the Clone Wars episodes, and her lightsaber is very similar to the one that was dropped in the Bad Batch episode. So it could be Rig Nema. Also, her hand is also purple and green, much like the hand that we see from the Dead Jedi in the episode. So that is my prediction. So the next part of the episode I wanted to talk about was when the Bad Batch and all the other clones were gathered on Kamino to listen to Palpatine's speech announcing that the Empire would govern the galaxy. And that audio from Palpatine is actually ripped straight from Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. That audio is actually Ian McDiarmid's voice. And I just thought that was a little fun fact I wanted to bring up because, Ian McDiarmid is the original Palpatine. So I'm going to show you a little clip of the speech that I was just talking about.
Nothing.
Galactic Empire!
Galactic Empire?
So the next thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that the Bad Batch wasn't affected by Order 66. Now this was because they're so genetically different from the normal clones, and they're very independent compared to the average regular clone. But something I found interesting was Crosshair, one of the Bad Batch members, was actually significantly affected by Order 66, which is kind of weird because the rest of the Bad Batch wasn't affected at all, but Crosshair was affected quite a lot, and it affected his decisions and his whole demeanor. And this could be for a number of reasons, but I think it could be for the fact that maybe he doesn't have as much genetic mutation as the other clones in the Bad Batch, or it could be another reason, I'm not really sure. And the fact that Crosshair was influenced by Order 66 and the rest of the Bad Batch wasn't, that gave kind of a tension-filled dynamic during this episode. It seemed like it was always Crosshair versus the rest of the Bad Batch. And this dynamic between Crosshair and the Bad Batch became more and more evident as the episode went on.
Why are we debating this? We need to complete the mission.
Wake up, Crosshair. They sent us to eliminate innocent civilians.
Who said they're innocent?
What's wrong with you?
Me. I'm following orders.
Exactly.
And Crosshair eventually had his chip strengthened by the Kaminoans, so he would more readily follow Order 66 and follow other orders. And at this point, Crosshair is basically just a robot. He doesn't make decisions for himself, he just follows orders and follows what Tarkin tells him to do. And Tarkin then tells him to go and try to kill the rest of the Bad Batch. So the tension between Bad Batch and Crosshair goes kind of full circle here at the end of the episode, where they end up trying to kill each other. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was the appearance of Saw Gerrera in this episode. So if you don't know who Saw Gerrera is, he is a freedom fighter who, during the Clone Wars, he fought with the Republic. He worked with Anakin on a couple occasions, and he continues to fight for freedom against the Empire during the Galactic Civil War. So in this episode, we see Saw on Onderon, where he is with a group of Republic fighters, not clones, just normal humans, and they're protecting some civilians. And the Bad Batch actually goes to Onderon at the orders of Tarkin to go and kill these fighters, and they end up finding out that they're Republic fighters, and they're fighting for freedom, and the Bad Batch ends up just leaving them be. We only see Saw for a couple minutes, but it was nice to see what Saw was doing during the fall of the Republic, and I'm sure we'll see him again in future episodes. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the Tuca doll that Wrecker has. It's red and black, a lot like the Bad Batch colors, and it appears multiple times throughout the episode. And immediately after I saw this doll that Wrecker had, it immediately reminded me of a very similar doll I saw in the Clone Wars. It was actually Season 1, Episode 20, if you want to go back and take a look at it. And it's the same kind of doll. It's a Tuca doll, and a little girl named Numa had it in that episode. I'll do a little comparison up on screen here. You can see the obvious similarities between the two dolls here. The Tuca dolls were made in the image of the Tuca cat, and the Tuca cat was a cat-like species, and the most famous of these species is the Loth cat, which is a subspecies of the Tuca cat. And the Loth cat is seen many times in the Rebels TV show. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was the clips from Episode 3 at the start of the episode. Now, these weren't actual clips from Episode 3, they were animated adaptations, but I think it was a nice little touch to kind of show us what some of those scenes would look like as animation instead of actual live action. So I'm going to real quick show you what the scenes from live action looked like and what the adaptations looked like from the Bad Batch. I'm going to slow down the scenes just a little bit so you can catch all the detail and how good they did on these scenes.
Knights thwarted an attempted for Palpatine. The evil droid General Grievous was created.
Alright everyone, that's all I have for you today, and I will see you in the next one.